Hello.
Hello, BookTube.
We're here to wrap up week one and to tell you what all we read. I've already had a video where I told you about two of them. And then I want to tell you the other six stories. Yeah, the other six stories that I read over the last few days.
And then we're going to ring in week two.
Yeah, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about week two, and that starts today.
In about 4 hours.
Yep. Yep, because today is actually Monday. This isn't going to go up till tomorrow, on Tuesday. But Tuesday is the first day of week two.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of videos and stuff. People talking about week two starting on Sunday. That's fine. I mean, if you wanted to start it on Sunday, but it didn't officially start until Tuesday.
Yep. On the 8th.
But you want to start with something that you read, or you want me to start with something I read?
You start with something you read, because you read more titles than I did.
I got six short story titles to talk about. I've already talked about Twilight and the Time Machine in the video before. In a video I did Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday, I think.
No, it was Thursday.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It was Thursday. Yep. And Twilight by John W. Campbell and The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Both great stories and highly recommended. The next thing that we both read was actually 7 Views of Olduvai Gorge by Mike Resnick. This was probably my favorite thing that I read this week. Loved this story. It was 45 pages. It was... we actually left the book at her mom's house when we came back.
Whoops.
Yeah, she set it on the nightstand. Yeah, and we just forgot it.
Sorry.
But it's a really, really good book. You want to explain what it's about a little bit?
It's terrestrial. It takes place on Earth, but it takes place on Earth in the very far future.
Yeah, they don't exactly say how far, but it's a long time.
No, it says a couple of millennia has passed since the age of man. Because by the point that the book starts, it's man has already abandoned Earth because of the way things are going now, and they've
no spoilers, but
I don't know. This is like the first 3 pages.
I know
they've conquered thousands of planets, spread through the universe, and are now extinct. And that's what the people are doing. What these archaeologists, because it's alien archaeology, are doing on Earth. They're digging up artifacts and looking at how man has evolved over the centuries. And it's utterly fascinating. It's called 7 Views of Olduvai Gorge because you get several different stories.
7.
Was it 7?
Yeah. It was 7, including the aliens.
Oh, yeah, you're right, including them. So you get 7 different views of how man has evolved over time. And
it was really, really cool. But it was all based on artifacts they found, that the aliens found at Olduvai Gorge.
Yeah, there's one.
And then it goes back and tells you the stories of each one of those artifacts.
Yeah, one of the aliens has an ability that he can absorb an artifact and tell you that artifact's entire history. Yeah, which is it's not hard science fiction, but it is still a very, very good story. Now, what makes it... And the funny thing is, what makes it alien archaeology is it's not humans digging up alien artifacts, it's aliens digging up human artifacts. And it was exactly what I was expecting in that way, but these stories were really compelling. They're alien archaeologists.
Yeah, Mike Resnick is. I've read some of his stuff before. This is the best thing by him I've ever read. Some of his stuff is a little bit like humorous and stuff, and I don't do humor in science fiction. I really don't like John Scalzi at all. I don't like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't like any of that kind of stuff. But this story by Mike Resnick, it's not comedic, it's not humorous, it's serious, and it's very good. It's a winner of the Hugo and the Nebula Awards. Just great.
It's fantastic. It's only like 45 pages, so it's a good quick read.
Again, highly recommended. And if you're not following along with the prompts, I would say feel free. Read that this month. It is friggin' great. I mean, you know, because it's terrestrial, but kind of wish I'd have started with that so I could have told people about it on Thursday. But yeah, it's excellent. The next thing I read was a story by Hal Clement because we're doing Hal for the holidays as well. I'll leave you a link to the other host channels down below. Um, and Impediment was an interesting story about some aliens who uh, not exactly crash landed on Earth, but kind of. But they came to Earth to find um, arsenic for their weapon systems. But they were trying to figure out how can we convey this to these humans, what it is we need so we can leave. Um, and I found it a fun story, well told. Uh, you know, I had issues with it here and there. I thought the expositions between the science and the story were a little clunky. Not much of a plot to speak of, that kind of thing, but still so much fun and great ideas by Hal Clement. I'm glad I'm reading Hal Clement finally. You know, I've read probably a short story or two sometime. But I can't remember them. I probably didn't care for them when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, late teens, that kind of thing. But yeah, Impediment. It was his third or fourth story, maybe even a second story that he ever wrote, and it's impressive to know that. Excellent story. It is definitely worth a read. And I got it out of the Best of Hal Clement, which I didn't pull up on my tab, but I've got it on my tablet. And you want to go ahead and talk about one of yours?
Yeah. My well, I might as well talk about two of them because they're in the same series. I read. What is happening outside? Good Lord!
I don't know if you can hear that or not, but we got cars.
Everybody driving up and down the road. It's 8:30. People, get off my lawn. So I read the second and third book in the Regina Bell series called the Shion Warrior. Can't say that word.
Shion Warrior series.
Shion Warriors. Yeah, it's alien sci-fi romance, and I love this series. They both started on Earth. But they branched out from there. But yeah, they both started on Earth, and the series is just fascinating. Regina Bell is a very accomplished author. She's a very talented author. The stories that she writes are very, very rich in the science that goes along with her storyline. The Shion Warriors were literally created by a scientist, Liang Shi, who created them to battle a scourge that's like a bug scourge that's taking over the galaxy, basically, and they're there to stop it. And when they come across Earth, they find that they're compatible with Earth females in every way, as happens in alien romances. They're wonderful, absolutely wonderful, because they're very deftly done. But I read the second and third one, Legion and Raven, and hailed them.
So what sub prompts or what sub themes would they take care of?
Would those two take care of? They take care of alien romance. They would take care of warfare, war and military?
Yeah.
Political. There's politics in there. I can't remember what the rest of them are. Help me. Do you remember what the rest of them are? Any of them
I'm not going to get this off my phone. No, I don't.
I know there was a couple others. We took care of alien archaeology with Old Dubai Gorge book. We took care. Oh, there's genre crossing.
Yeah.
There's alien invasion. There's first contact. Yeah.
A lot.
That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
A lot.
But yeah.
Okay, so and the next couple that I read one called, again, I got it out of this book right here. Actually, I got two. My next two were out of this book right here, and unfortunately, these were only one of these was terrestrial. And the first one I'm going to talk about is terrestrial. It's The Infinite Assassin. It takes place on Earth. It was written by Greg Egan. He's an Australian science fiction writer. And the cool thing with this story is it takes a little thought and it takes a little concentration to understand what's going on. You really have to stop and read this book to understand what's going on. But it's a little bit cyberpunkish without the cyber. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's got the same feel as cyberpunk, but it's more of a drug, and it's more of a there's a cult that is based on this drug. In this drug, people can use it to live vicariously through other people. You know, vicariously through their minds, and can, but 1 in every 100,000 can actually take over that person. And there is a man who is sent to stop this. You know, he can detect who it is that's doing this. And like I said, it's really hard to explain. The story was just okay. I don't know how much more Greg Egan. I would like to read some more Greg Egan, but I really doubt that this is one of his better stories. Mm-hmm. It's written like hard science fiction without the hard science. And I just don't care for that. I love hard science fiction, but I want my science in that science fiction. And then the one I read after that in this same book, The Mammoth Book of Science Fiction, edited by Mike Ashley. Most of the stuff I've seen that is edited by him is great. Was a story called Death Day by Peter F. Hamilton, and this didn't take place on Earth, so it wasn't a terrestrial story. I made a mistake reading it. I thought it was going to be a terrestrial story, but it's about a man whose wife is killed by an alien on a planet, and this is a planet that all people of his species, which I guess are human, are about to leave. And an alien killed his wife, and even though he tells his wife he vows to himself that he will not leave this planet until the alien that killed his wife is dead. And so it's about the hunt and all of that, and it's so much better than Death Day. Just not a great story.
You're just talking about Death Day. It's so much better than The Infinite Assassin?
Death Day is better than The Infinite Assassin.
Okay.
Yes. The two books, out of the two stories I got out of this book, Death Day is the much better book. It's a much better read. So, yeah, it's recommended. It's still not one of the better stories I read this week, but good enough that I would read it again. It is a good story. So you go ahead and talk about what you read.
Goodness gracious. So, the last thing I read this week, as far as sci-fi goes, was Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. And I greatly enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. It popped up a whole lot of questions that just I'm still wrapping my head around, and I just loved it. It was fantastic. I liked the second half more than the first, because the first, it was really, really slow going.
Yeah.
But then once you hit about the 50% mark, it just zoomed right on through, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like Childhood's End a lot. It's not my favorite Arthur C. Clarke. It'd be third or fourth on the list. But for a lot of people, it is their favorite. And I do like it a lot. It is higher tier Arthur C. Clarke, but it's not perfect. There are some issues with it.
It's an interesting story. It tells the story of the start of it is very reminiscent of the movie Independence Day. One day people looked up at the sky, and over all of their major cities there were these huge spaceships. And the spaceships were manned by these aliens they called the Overlords. And for like 50 years, the Overlords passively ruled mankind. And the crazy thing about it is mankind was better off Everybody had food to eat. Everybody had everything they had to need. Everything had, everybody had everything they needed. Nobody went hungry. There was no more race wars. There was no more animal violence. And so it sort of, in the first couple of pages, begged the question of whether them being conquered was a good thing or not.
Yeah,
I mean, they're happier, but they're still conquered. I mean,
yeah. And to one of the questions that the book begged was, which is more important, that much freedom or that much happiness? You know, because it kind of asks, is the free market more important than happy citizens?
yeah.
That kind of thing. It does. It brings up those questions. Whether that was absolutely meant by Arthur C. Clarke back in the early 50s, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if it's not a lot more poignant now than it was then.
Maybe. It very well may be.
Because of the way things are nowadays.
Yeah.
But crazy things happen
Mm-hmm.
in this story. Some crazy things happen. It's fantastic.
I've read it before.
Really
I didn't read it this time, but
it's
it
very good.
is great. Yeah. And was that all you read?
Yeah, that's my 4 books.
Okay. The next story I read, we left this book as well, so I pulled up the e-copy of it. It's the year's best science fiction, the 2nd annual collection. I've got this. It was sent to me by Scott, one of my friends, a long time ago, last year actually, and this is a friggin' great book. But the first story I read in it was Interlocking Pieces by Molly Gloss, and that story was awful. Like, really, really bad. It had number one, it had so very little science fiction. Number 2, it was 10 pages, and number 3, it was a drama, and again, a drama without science fiction. Very little science fiction. This woman knew she was going to die if she didn't get this transplant. She found that her transplant was in the hospital. She sneaks out to go meet the person that is going to be her donor, and then it's about them talking for about 4 or 5 pages, and it is freaking boring. Neither person has personality. It was the most unspirited conversation. Just no point to this story whatsoever. I read this like 5 o'clock this morning, and I was wishing and then I went right back to sleep. It was really bad.
She failed the basic tenets of storytelling.
She did.
Storytelling should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it had a middle, and middle.
Yeah, it was just. There was nothing to it. It was not a good story. I don't know why it was in this collection. But the second story I read in this collection here, the 2nd annual, was Salvador by Lucius Shepard. It was, and these stories are from 1985 or 84 or 85. And it's about a man, and it did not have a whole lot of science fiction, but it is about a man who goes to war. And they keep injecting these things called ampules. They don't exactly tell you what they are, but they keep the soldiers going.
Ooh.
Pretty much, and they keep them sharp.
It's pure cocaine.
Yeah, and they're taking them every half hour. So it's really, and the story ends with one of them going home, and come to find out he's still addicted to this, whatever the drug was in this thing. And while that's okay, I could have done without that part. The war parts were great. They were really well written. But we really didn't need that little poignant moment at the end of it that it missed poignancy 100%. It was a good story with a bad last 4 or 5 pages.
Well, too much character in there.
Yeah, I guess.
In science fiction, you have to be careful. Unless you're doing something like romance that's very, very character-oriented.
Yeah.
You kind of have to go the Who's it?
It even had a little bit.
Arthur C. Clarke wrote.
Yeah, it even had a little bit of fantasy, unneeded fantasy in it. But the first 80% of the story was very good. The action was good, kind of upsetting at times, but good. It's a 3-star story out of 5. You know, if I gave them, it was okay.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed about science fiction. It's not character driven, like not at all.
Well, not all. You can't say that about all science fiction. Just science fiction.
Hard science fiction.
Yeah, most hard science fiction is not character driven. It's science driven.
But even this Childhood's End, it was not character driven.
Right.
There was one character in there. He was talking just the Arthur C. Clarke was just talking about the character, and he was talking about how he was cheating on his wife. And in my head, there was a record scratch.
Yeah, but
I'm like, what?
Yeah, but see, you can't say science fiction is not character driven, because look at Ender's Game. You read Ender's Game, and Ender's Game is got great characters like.
Yeah, but Ender himself is not this huge, vivid personality.
Neither's Harry Potter.
Well, but that's just a lack of skill on the author's part, I think.
Morrison's got cards, not that skilled, but.
Shush you.
But yeah, that's what we read, and we are about to.
We'll get so much hate mail for this, but no, hold on. So, what you read? What did it cover?
Oh, I have finished.
You want me to read out all the things?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so remember we had sub things.
Yep.
And the 13 sub things are alien archaeology,
which we can both cross off because of 7 views of Olduvai Gorge.
Alien romance, which I can always cross off.
I'm having trouble finding something, but I will find something before we're done. I will. It's got to be a short story, or it's not going to be read. That's what I'm doing.
Translated work. I didn't get anything. Did you get anything?
Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Never mind.
Okay, so
I started a work that was originally in French, and I got about 5 pages in, and I was like, this is just not good. So I stopped reading. I think there was probably a lot lost in translation.
This is awful. So we both needed translated work. Alternate world / dimension.
That I did with the Infinite Assassin. That there was an alternate world that these people were. Yeah.
So I haven't gotten anything from an alternate world / dimension yet.
Yeah.
I think no. Far future.
7 views of Olduvai Gorge, and
7
for me,
views of Olduvai Gorge.
Twilight, and the Time Machine. Yep.
So we both got far future. War / military. For me, that was the Regine Bell books, and no, that's just Regina Bell books.
For me, it was Salvador.
Genre crossing. I got me some alien romance. Yeah.
I don't have it yet.
First Contact.
Yeah, you have it with Childhood's End.
Childhood's End and Regina Bell's books.
Yep, I am getting First Contact out next week.
Time travel. I don't have any of those yet.
Yep, I do. The Time Machine and Twilight by John W. Campbell.
Invasion.
I don't have yet.
3 of mine, the Regina Bell books and the Arthur C. Clarke
And I say
book.
I don't have a lot of these yet because I am not using dubious, what would be the word? Dubious connections.
Thin connections.
Yeah, really thin connections. I'm just not going to use that.
Like if a person walked next to a person in the military, he's not counting that as military.
That's right, but I have military because I read a military story.
We do time travel? Yeah.
Yes.
Invasion. We already did that too,
didn't we?
About
that, yeah.
Humorous. No, I haven't found anything humorous yet. I'm going to be reading something humorous
I haven't either,
next week.
but I think next week I'll get something humorous from Hal Clement. So.
Political, yeah. There's a bit of politics in the Regina Bell books. One of the characters is actually training to be an ambassador.
I don't know. Maybe I have to think about what I've read to figure out if I got something political or not. So.
And there's a little bit of politics in Childhood's End.
Yeah.
And libraries. There's in Childhood's End. There's a library.
No, I haven't read anything with libraries yet, so she's read a lot more of them than I have. But yeah.
Let's see. I still need a translated work, alternate dimension. Got that. Time travel. Humorous.
Yeah, I need more than that. So, but we're going to talk about week 2 now. We're already 25 minutes in.
Okay.
And we're gonna.
Well, we've already done a week 2 at TBR.
Yeah, we did, but we're about to start week 2, which is Extra-Terrestrial, which is a science fiction story that takes place away from Earth. Mm-hmm. So, get those stories out.
Yes.
It starts on Tuesday, today, and I'm reading Tin Marsh. I can't remember who wrote that. Murray Leinster, maybe? First Contact by Murray Leinster. Assumption Unjustified by Hal Clement. I'm also going to read Proof by Hal Clement. Nightfall by Isaac Asimov. Pipeline to Pluto by Murray Leinster. And Beyond the Aquila Rift by Alistair Reynolds. Mm-hmm. And that is also going to satisfy my extra credit because Beyond the Aquila Rift is a story on
Love, Death, and Robots?
Is it Love, Death, and Robots?
I can't remember. I remember it being different than that.
I think it's Death, Love, and Robots, but I can't remember.
It's one combination of the 3.
Yeah. But by Alistair Reynolds, which was my favorite episode of that show so far.
It sticks with you.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, I'm gonna go watch a couple episodes of that on the old iPad, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading First Contact, and I'm reading. I think it's called Matched with Zyko. That's got the best premise and the best cover of any book like ever. And I'll find something else to read as well for Extra-Terrestrial.
You're reading First Contact. Right? Did you already say that? Okay.
They're a dime a dozen. Honestly, not First Contact. Extra-Terrestrial.
Why don't you read Beyond the Aquila Rift for me and get your extra credit?
Okay.
It's not very long.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll get some more high science fiction out there so that people stop giving me snobby looks. For reading.
No, I want you to read it with me so we can talk about it.
I know. I'm not talking about that.
All right, but yeah, we're so feel free to start reading Extra-Terrestrial books now.
Yeah, let us know what you're going to read. Is there somebody else reading First Contact with us?
Yep, we got Matt. I think I can't remember if Matt is going to read it with us or not. Matt from Science Fiction Reads, and there's also Fred from Read by Fred is going to read it with us as well. But I can't remember if Matt's going to read it or not. So
if anybody else wants to read it with us, yeah, we are here for it. Bring it.
Yeah, sure. And then talk to us about it. Let us know you're going to read it. Talk to us about it. I'm actually going to read that tomorrow.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you're reading for this week. I want us to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
We're done. So, happy reading, everybody. Enjoy week 2.